Let me tell you something. I never thought I'd say out loud getting slapped with a $5,000 fine for having a so-called eyesore of a garden. That was actually the best thing that happened to me that year. Sounds nuts, right? But that wasn't just a fine. No, that was the first warning shot in what turned out to be an all-out gloves-off federal agent swarming war in Willow Creek. A war over a patch of dirt, a dead woman's wish, and more money than I'd ever seen in my life. And believe me, the president of our precious little Willow Creek Preservation Society, Victoria Sterling, queen of fake compassion, she wasn't just after my bank account. She wanted to erase the last thing I loved in this world. She tried to poison my dying wife's favorite hydrangeas. She tried to steal a hidden trust worth $750,000. She even tried to burn down the one place on earth where I could still hear my wife's laugh in the breeze. But I'll tell you what nobody saw coming, especially not her when the feds declared my ugly backyard a historic landmark. I didn't just win a lawsuit. I watched a suburban tyrant's whole empire collapse piece by piece right in front of everyone. Let me back up. You've got to see this place in your head, the cold white walls of St. Jude's Medical Center, that beep beep of machines ticking off the seconds. My wife Eleanor holding my hand so tight you'd swear she had one last secret to squeeze out. She was a force, my Eleanor. A brilliant archivist, funny as hell, sharp as a tack. She could sniff out rot in people before it ever reached my nose. The day she left, she whispered, "Restore Grandma Beatrice's garden, Arthur. Promise me. Mix my ashes in that dirt where we were happiest." And I did. I promised right through tears. Didn't know I was promising to defend a fortress. 8 months later, Eleanor gone, house silent as a mausoleum. Victoria Sterling showed up on my porch, nails tapping her clipboard like a vulture clicking her beak. "Time to face reality and sell," she said, flashing that smile she probably practiced in a mirror. She didn't know Eleanor was already part of that soil, or that she'd left me more than memories. She left me a legal bear trap, a trust fund locked up tight, $750,000, and the key: the garden stays a living memorial forever. Grandma Beatrice. Man, she saw the wolves coming from a mile off. Victoria. She was alpha of the pack. She'd hugged me at the funeral with one arm and mentally counted the commission on my foreclosure with the other. And I gotta tell you, Victoria had been laying the groundwork for years. She wanted this house from the jump, tried every lowball offer, every bit of pressure she could. After Eleanor's funeral, she swooped in with the fake sympathy. "Arthur, sweetie, Eleanor wouldn't want you burdened. Let me help you sell." Never said she was the investor. Then came the little things, calls to Adult Protective Services, whispers that I'd gone nuts with grief. And then the garden. Eleanor's hydrangeas, the pride of the block, turned black overnight. That happened right after the beautification crew, personally supervised by Victoria, sprayed fertilizer a little too close to my fence. Standing in that dirt, touching the dead leaves, I just felt something snap. This wasn't about landscaping. This was war on a grave. Right on cue, the $5,000 fine arrived. Pay up or fix it in 30 days. The deadline. Our 25th anniversary. Victoria didn't miss a chance to twist the knife. But there, kneeling in the dirt, I remembered Eleanor's words. "This garden isn't just plants, Arthur. It's a shield. And buddy, did I ever need one." The harassment got worse, fake citations, rumors, the works. My neighbor, Mrs. Higgins, sweetest woman you ever met, got shuffled off to assisted living after a sudden rash of fines for trash cans and noise violations. Sergeant Miller, a Vietnam vet who just wanted to garden in peace, got run out after mysterious utility shutoffs and surprise tax bills. Victoria wasn't just mean. She was running a long con, buy up all the homes, bulldoze them, sell the land for condos, $12 million in projected profit, and all she had to do was get rid of folks like me. You ever ask yourself what you'd do if someone tried to dig up your spouse for profit? I went nuclear. When Victoria tried to claim my wife's resting place was a biohazard, I realized this wasn't just about me anymore. That night, lying awake listening to the wind chimes Eleanor hung, I decided no more being the broken dog. She'd woken up the wrong dragon. I started digging. Visited Mrs. Higgins. She cried, telling me how Victoria fined her over and over until she had to sell for a song. I traced property records, found every shell company Victoria hid behind. She wasn't just running an HOA, she was running an elder abuse ring disguised as neighborhood improvement. IRS started sniffing around my taxes. Anonymous tips, of course. Water company threatened shutoff. Health department showed up, poked at the soil where Eleanor's ashes rested. I was humiliated, furious. And then I found the note. Eleanor, God bless her, left one last message hidden behind an old mirror. Arthur, if you're reading this, Victoria is making her move. The garden isn't just sentimental. It's a shield. Research the history. Predators always disguise theft as mercy. That night, a tree crew showed up, chainsaws ready to cut down the old oak shading Eleanor's spot. I ran out in pajamas, screaming, "You'll have to cut through me first." They left, but I knew I needed backup. Eleanor had mentioned Martha Green, the city archivist. So I called her. "Arthur," she said, her voice buzzing with excitement, "your grandmother's deed goes back to the 1800s. She was Charleston's first female botanist. That garden holds extinct plant lines. It's a living archive." That hit me hard. My wife hadn't just left me a garden, she'd left me a fortress built out of history. Victoria fired her next shot, an adverse possession claim, complete with faked receipts, photos, and affidavits from new neighbors she'd manipulated. She wanted a chunk of the garden, Eleanor's resting place. But I wasn't alone anymore. Hired a private eye named Lucas Thorne, a guy who looked like he'd slept in his car for a month, but who could sniff out a rat a mile away. Lucas mapped out Victoria's whole operation, 15 homes stolen cheap, flipped for millions. RICO territory. That's when I went to the press. Jessica Blake, investigative journalist, took one look at my evidence, Eleanor's letters, poisoned plants, stolen trust funds, and said, "This is going to blow up." The headline, "Widower Harassed by HOA." President while grieving. The whole internet exploded. People camping on my lawn with justice for Eleanor signs. Mrs. Higgins started a prayer circle. But the real earthquake came with the scientists. Dr. Evelyn Chase from Clemson walked the garden staring at the ferns and roses. "Arthur," she said, "these are plants thought extinct for 70 years. This is a genetic arc." Dr. Sophia Ramirez rolled ground-penetrating radar over the yard and stopped cold. "That's the foundation of General Pinckney's homestead. Your garden sits on top of a federal-class archaeological site. Bam, federal law kicked in. Victoria's fine's gone. Her property claim worthless. My backyard. Now a protected site guarded by the Department of the Interior." Victoria panicked, and a cornered animal bites. She hired a 2-bit arsonist, Eddie the Match Malone, to torch the garden, wipe out any evidence so the historical status would disappear. But Agent Carter from the FBI was already listening. They caught Victoria on tape ordering the arson. I watched from inside, heart pounding, as Eddie slunk into my yard with a can of gas lighter out. Right as he flicked the flame, the place exploded with tactical lights. Federal agents drop it. They had him cuffed before he hit the ground. Eddie turned snitch in record time, told the whole story: arson, conspiracy, attempted murder. Victoria cornered, launched one last smear campaign, said I was a grave robber. The archaeological find was fake. The feds would raise everyone's taxes. She even forged documents to try and sway public opinion. But the nail in the coffin, Agent Carter set a sting. Dr. Ramirez pretended to be a corrupt official willing to overlook the site for $50,000. Victoria took the bait, handed over cash, and demanded my wife's memorial be bulldozed and ashes in the sewer. Bribery, desecration, fraud, she was done. We didn't arrest her in private, though. No, we waited for her big victory lap, a town hall meeting, cameras everywhere. She strutted on stage, ready to bury me for good. Instead, she got U.S. Marshals at the exits, the Attorney General marching up the aisle, and a list of charges long enough to wrap the block. "Victoria Sterling, you're under arrest for racketeering, wire fraud, arson, conspiracy." Her face just collapsed. That moment, seeing the years of fear leave my neighbors' faces as she was cuffed, it was like letting out a breath I'd held for years. But Victoria, to her last second, tried to twist the knife. She screamed at me as they dragged her past the evidence table. "It should have been mine. Arthur stole it. That garden is dirt. Eleanor was nothing." And in that moment, the world saw her, the real, her monster, unmasked, broadcast to millions. The trial was a slaughter. Hours of video confessions, financial trails, bribery. 27 years in federal prison. She just stared at me with those dead shark eyes while the judge called her a disgrace to decency. 6 months later, the Eleanor Pendleton Memorial Garden was officially a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The place, it bloomed. The ugly patch of dirt was a miracle, ferns and roses, colors I'd never seen before, scientists buzzing, students studying, tourists flocking in. Turns out Eleanor's ashes changed the soil just enough to resurrect seeds from the 1800s. Her love literally brought the dead to life. The neighborhood property values shot up 85%. The blight was now the pride of Charleston. We used Victoria's seized assets over $1 million to set up a defense fund for victims of HOA abuse. Mrs. Higgins got elected HOA president, abolished fines through a neighborhood potluck. I stood out there, some nights fireflies flickering, just me and Eleanor and the garden we saved. Heavy peace, sweet as honey. I kept my promise. But staring at that bronze plaque, Love Roots Deep, I started to wonder, at what cost Victoria was evil, sure. But the system that let her thrive, that gives petty tyrants power over people's homes, is still out there. I toppled one monster, but how many others rule their cul-de-sacs with an iron fist? Justice was done. It tasted like heritage roses and victory. But I keep asking myself, why does it take a 200-year-old miracle to protect what we love from the neighbor next door? Here's the thing, love wins. But sometimes it takes a federal indictment to make sure it sticks. If this story fired you up, or if you've ever tangled with a nightmare neighbor, let me know. Drop a comment, share your story about justice, power, or just the craziest thing a neighbor's ever done to you. Is justice about the law, or about standing up for the people you love no matter what? Let's hear it. Eleanor's garden is open. And trust me, we're just getting started.